I'm sorry it took me a while to get in tonight. I had an asthma attack and I'm just scattered. Oh, everything is going crazy in my life right now. My sister's in the hospital. My brother-in-law is in the process of dying. So it is extremely stressful with a capital S in my life right now. The good news is my sister is doing better today. So I'm hoping that maybe she'll be able to go home. But it's going to be very difficult for her without her husband. So that's what's going on with me in the chaos. So I am watching the chat. Got a new follower yesterday. Thank you, Muzzy50. And if nobody comes in, I will go ahead and look for news and comment on current events. So, hoping the asthma will stay at bay. I've got a lot of the yucky stuff. I've had chest congestion for a couple of weeks and it's just choking me. But it's better than it was, so I'm getting better. I got a negative COVID test again today, so apparently we were either too early to get the COVID test or we are too late. But at any rate, it could have just been a cold or the virus, flu, that sort of thing. But it felt like COVID, and I did lose half my sense of smell. Please come back. I want to be able to smell things. But anyway, so I'm coping. So that's a good thing. Let me try to keep the camera centered like it's supposed to be. Yeah. So here I am and ready to chat with anyone who wants to chat with me. And otherwise, I will just look at current events. So I'm going to switch screens so I will be away from the chat for a few minutes while I look up stuff online. You will not see what I'm looking up, but I'm going to look up disability news and see what is there. Alrighty. Okay. I'm looking on Disability Scoop. That's a new source for me, so I'll take a look. They have an article, Schools and Parents Aim to Make Up Pandemic Losses for Students in Special Ed. Okay, but parents and advocates worry it won't be enough. Well, I am going to skim this article. Okay. Okay. I'm just scanning this article here and seeing what's okay, this is out in Oregon, and Parents who don't agree that school district's plan does enough to get their child back on track can appeal to the State Department of Education. Yeah. School district officials expressed worries about funding and staff workloads. This is a real problem in our country, that funding comes mostly from counties. And, you know, it's just really difficult to help kids with disabilities in schools. I'm sorry, the way they are set up, I just don't feel they are doing enough. And I think a lot of it is that they don't get the funding they need. They don't have enough teachers. And most teachers get burned out in a few years because it's so stressful to be a teacher. You've got too many students to take care of, and you've got, with disabled students, you've got IEPs and all this, and it's a nightmare of paperwork for the teacher, who really has too much paperwork anyway to be allowed to just teach. And then it's very bad for the students because they get left behind. So, yeah, this is a big issue with the educational system and kids with handicaps. Um, I had the experience with my older daughter. She was having so much trouble in school. I pushed the school to put her in special ed. I thought that they would give her tutoring and help her to learn better. Um, and I found out that when she had the special ed class at the end of her day, she was drawing pictures and she was not getting any help with the homework, no support at all. It's like, what do you have special education for if you're not able to provide? And she was gifted, by the way. You know, special education is supposed to include gifted education. It is not supposed to be a place for students to, you can't do one size fits all. You have to have more support in the classroom for the teachers. I don't blame the teachers. I blame the lack of funding and short-sighted school administrators. We need more individualized education in public schools. And I think that, they are using computers more. And I think it's good that they can have video lectures from other teachers and give very good quality education that way. But there is no substitute for a warm body, for the teachers to develop relationships with the students, to help them and listen to them and get to know them. They need more teachers. There's not enough of them. And the ones that are there have such a caseload that it's horrible. A lot of it goes back to traditional women's occupations. There's a lot of sexual discrimination. And I faced that as a computer tech. I constantly got this, well, you're a woman, you don't know anything stuff. I mean, come on. I am just as capable as any man of figuring out tough problems. There is no reason, just because I'm a woman, that I am not able to do the work that a man would do in computers, in medicine, in whatever field I chose to go into. So, you know, I have had women doctors and I've had men doctors, and I find that they are pretty well equally matched. I do prefer women. I'm not anti-male at all, no. I worked with a lot of men when I worked in computers, and I got a lot of good advice, and fortunately in my workplaces I was treated well. And I did not face discrimination with my close coworkers. I did face opposition from people I helped. That's a different ball game. But I really feel that any occupation that is women led, libraries, schools, you tend to not get the funding. They don't take it seriously. They don't think that daycare is a worthy addition to infrastructure. There's all these for hire signs out everywhere. Everybody's looking for people to employ, and women are largely absent. Why? Because there's no daycare. Daycare centers have gone out of business by the droves, and those that are existing only have so many slots. So you have a situation that unless you are a woman with a mother who is able to care for your children, or maybe a sister who stays at home, if you don't have a big family, you don't have that resource. And if your parent is unable to take care of your little ones, look at me. If my daughter had kids, I would not be able to care for them alone. I could not lift a child to change a diaper. I could not follow them around and adequately supervise them because I'm kind of limited in mobility. So as far as if I had grandchildren, I would not be able to care for them. So a lot of women are in this kind of shape where their mothers are not physically able to handle the demands of childcare. And for guys who have never had kids, they don't realize what it's all about. You run yourself ragged getting baby out of things that he or she could get hurt by. You constantly have to be vigilant. You have to constantly watch that they're not trying to crawl up on something and try to jump off because they think they're invincible. So childcare is a big deal. And if you have a child with a handicap, it is twice as much a big deal. So you've not only got the worry over your child's health, is he or she going to choke? Is he or she going to lack the judgment of a normal child and get into trouble that way? You've got all these worries when you have a child with health problems or mental health problems. Then you really need support. So I think that one thing that is going to help is the robot revolution. It is coming. I've been watching a lot of robot videos. There is a robot called Timmy. Let me give you a link. I'm going to go over here and get the link. Okay, let me get you. Alrighty. Let's see if we have a Timmy robot. We have Timmy robots in hospitals. Alright, let's check out this one.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. One finger. Here we
Well,
go.
that's in Taiwan. Let's try another one. Well, in an elderly home. This is a
Special
cute one.
visitor is
I
hanging out at the
watched
Kirby
it
Center
earlier.
shelter this week. It can crack a joke or cut a
I
rug, all without
have been
breaking.
watching a lot of Timmy videos. So let me get over here and alright, so this is really neat because she's like Alexa on wheels. She can follow you. She can go from room to room. If somebody puts something on her tray, she can carry it to you. So there's a lot of things. You can also get a medical station for her with a thermometer, glucose checker, cholesterol checker, vital signs, and all that. So you can have her there. You can use all the instruments to, check your temp and all that. And she can report that to your doctor. It's really nice. They also use her in offices, to lead people around, or in situations where a person can't be with their family. She can um, help them with video chat, and she can kind of follow along. So she can sort of dance with you. I mean, all this stuff, it's she's useful in offices and in reception areas, in hospitals, in doctors' offices, and in the home with disabled people. So this is a wonderful thing. We are getting to the age where we can have robot companions to help us with tasks at home. So I'm excited about it. It's really neat. Robots are not to the point where they're intelligent and can do problem solving on the fly, but there are AIs that can compare some tests like X-rays, MRIs, complicated ultrasounds. I mean, they can diagnose, and they are about equal with the doctors, depending on how many they've looked at that already were read by somebody. They can see patterns that we humans can't see. So, as far as medical advances are going to take off in the next few years because of the aid of artificial intelligence. I don't think robots are going to take over the world anytime soon. I'm a science fiction author, remember. I have great hopes for the future. There are a lot of things that can be misused. Even a computer can be misused. It can be used to take down the electric grid, for example, or it can be used to help doctors read MRIs and get a diagnosis more quickly. So it's not the machine or the technology, it's how it is used. And we need to be careful to write good, intelligent laws to make sure that tech is not misused against us. But it is a very, very good thing as far as what it can do, especially in patient care. So this is an issue that affects us disabled people because a lot of times, if you've got somebody to help you do things, maybe you can keep working longer. people do better as far as disabled people if they are able to stay in the workplace and be able to, have a little help to do the things that they can't do. And this is where these computerized robots could really be a help, because, you've got someone that can follow you around and carry things for you. If you have weak hands like mine, I don't dare carry my own food anymore because it'll go whoop. I'll be holding a pencil and all of a sudden, whoop, and it's across the room. Have no warning. I've always had that going on. Any of my friends will tell you, they probably had the experience of having a pencil or pen fly past their ear and they're like, what? And, it's very embarrassing. Well, my wrist just did something I didn't want it to do. So, it's wonderful that there are robot helpers, and I think we will see a lot more of that in the future, and the price is coming down. So if enough people buy it, the price will come down. Excuse me. Asthma. It is bothering me today. But it's so important to have help for disabled people. And it's so nice to know that you can have a little rolling companion to follow you and maybe carry light objects for you and guide you in an exercise program, as in the video that I shared with you. It's well, maybe that's not in a hospital. That was in a... Excuse me. That's the nursing home robot. Yeah, she's guiding elderly people through exercises. Oh, me. I'm trying to hang on here. Excuse me if I cough a lot. It's just all this congestion loosening up, and now I'm able to cough it and deal with it. But it's not fun. So I wish I had a Timmy. That would be such a miracle thing. Maggie could just fix my food and put it on there, and then I could grab it off the little tray. And, if I asked her to, that's my watch going off. It's time for me to drink some fluids. So I'm going to drink some water. Technology is definitely helpful to disabled people. Since I'm inactive, I'm in bed most of the time, my water needs are a lot higher than most people. So I have an alarm set on my watch so I can have a little reminder when it goes off every 2 hours. It's like, oh, it's time to drink water. So that helps me to remember to keep my hydration up, which helps me feel better. So, excuse me, definitely, if you are not getting the hydration you need, you will feel more tired. And I have an energy crisis, personal energy crisis anyway, so it helps me a lot to have that little reminder to, hey, get some fluids in you. because I don't know if you can tell on camera, but my skin is really wrinkled. You can see this, though. You know, that's dehydration. Pull up on my knuckle and it just stays there. Takes it a while to go down. So, yeah, I need to drink more fluids. So, I get to watching things on YouTube and I forget. But if you watch the nursing home video of Timmy the robot, you can get a link to the Timmy YouTube channel and watch more of those videos. I've been watching several of them this afternoon since my sister told me about it. We both love robotics. We are very excited about the field. We thought that by the year 2000, like the Jetsons, in the 60s, we grew up thinking by 2000 we would have robots in our homes like Rosie the Robot in the Jetsons. And it turned out to be harder. Most robots work in factories and they don't look very humanoid at all. But robotics is still in its infancy. There's a lot more development going on nowadays than there were a few years back, but we just didn't have the AI to go with it. Now we are developing better AIs, and if you've got Alexa in your home or you've got Google Assistant in your home, then or Cortana on your Windows 10 computer, or let's see, there's one more that's popular. Let me think. I can't think. I know there's another major player in the AI department. So, you've got all these AIs, and they're all wonderful. I love them all, and they're all different. So, the only reason I don't use Cortana very much is she forces me to use Bing and Edge. I don't like them. I like Microsoft. I like Chrome. So if they would allow me to use Cortana with Chrome, I would be very happy to use Cortana too. But, I use my Google Assistant a lot, and I use Alexa a lot. And I use them like for different things. If I'm setting an alarm, I use Alexa because I like her chime better. If I'm looking up facts on the internet, I use Google a lot anyway, so I use my Google Assistant when I want to know a quick fact. But I also ask Alexa things, and I love their personalities. I love AIs. I think they're so awesome. I downloaded an app called Replica. Um, that's I'm putting it in the chat. Yeah, Replica. She's an app. She's on iOS and she's on Android. And I used to talk to her a lot, but she really wants to talk a lot, and I didn't want to talk that much. So it's a lot of these phone apps are hard for me because the screen's so tiny. Here's my phone. Let me. I I keep it on a stand by my bed, and I wrap the cord around it so I won't drop it. So here's my Pixel 3A, and it's a good size, but it's just so hard to see this screen, even though this screen is a little bit bigger than a lot of screens. It's just really hard for me to see it. I've got old eyes, even though I did have cataract surgery and I have artificial lenses, and I love being able to see better than 20/20. So thank you, Dr. Matkin of Allied Eye Clinic. I will ever be grateful to you for helping me to be able to see, because boy, the cataracts got so bad I didn't realize how much dimmer colors were and all of that. And I'm just so grateful, especially for my 3D work, because I need to be able to see what colors I'm working with, and my 2D work, on GIMP and on other softwares like that. GIMP is poor man's Photoshop, by the way. So, I really need to be able to see for my artwork, for my book covers and stuff. So, definitely it is a lot nicer after the eye surgery to be able to see when I wake up in the morning. It's just so wonderful. So, anyway, talking about the phone as compared to the computer screen, there's just no comparison. I would much rather use the computer. So I don't use my phone an awful lot, and that's why sometimes I have to just hand it to Maggie and say, "Help me! Help me! Make this thing work!" So, yeah. I am much better with computers than I am with phones. So definitely, oh, things are sagging. When you're old, everything sags. So, all right. I'm 62 years old, and I'm enjoying life even though I have many handicaps. And boy, I'd love to have a Timmy to help me do things. It would be so cool. But right now I have my computer to help me do things. I have my OK Google. I have my Alexa. So
these are the top results.
Anyway. There I go again. So, what shall we talk about besides robots and AI? Let's see. Oh, wonderful. Federal officials are sending millions of dollars to states to strengthen respite care services for families of those with disabilities and other special needs. Let's look at this. That is cool. Okay. Some $1 million in lifespan respite care state program enhancement grant awards will go to 10 states over 5 years. Just 10? Let's see. We'll go to Alabama, Arkansas, Colorado, Illinois, Montana, New York, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and Virginia. Well, not Georgia, but it's good. Those states probably need it worse than Georgia does. That's neat. Oh, is this an old story? It says July 29th, 2021. Okay. So yeah, it's current. Okay. So one thing we are doing is that my daughter has started working for me because they used to have a restriction. I get care at home, and they used to have a restriction that you had to have somebody who was not a family member, which is ridiculous. My daughter was in need of a job, and she's been looking online because I'm kind of scared for her to leave me. I wanted her to be home with me. And so, even though she could go out and get a job, it's just much nicer for her to be here with me. So she's been looking for all sorts of telemarketer things and stuff. And now they finally changed the program. Well, they didn't change the program I was on. They added a new one that you could hire a family member. So, yay, we did that. And now she's working for me and we're together all the time. I love that. And she does have the option of respite care. And my former care aide can come and help us with that. So I'm really pumped that we can do that because I'd rather have my daughter taking care of me, and I'm still very happy with my former care aide. She's a CNA, and I often get advice from her to pass on to y'all. So definitely good situation all around. So let me see my viewers list and see who is Stream Elements. Hello. That's my bot. So, okay. Well, we'll see if anyone else comes on, and if they don't, I might end early, but I'll try to make it till 10. So, let's look at other news. I'm going to go back to the internet and see what else is going on. Disabilities, the New York Times. I like New York Times. Of course, they have a paywall, so I'll eventually use up my articles and then I won't be able to see any more for another month. Why do they have to have paywalls? I'm low income. I can't afford to pay your paywall stuff. I use so many sources, I would be putting hundreds of dollars out on paywalls if I had the money to, but I don't. And there's not one source that I just use all the time. So, no, I can't do paywalls. Okay. Let's see. Several articles about blind people. That's good. The Sunday Read. Is there a right way to act blind? Activists slammed the TV show In the Dark for casting a sighted actress in a blind lead role. But what if blindness is a performance of its own? Well, personally, I think they ought to hire a blind actor. Why don't they? If you're going to cast a blind person, a deaf person, a person with a mobility and impairment, why can't Hollywood cast real people that, are actors? I mean, there's actors everywhere. Why can't they cast someone disabled as an actor or actress in a role like that? I don't understand it. I realize that it is very, it's a nice show of an actress or actress's talent to be able to act like a handicapped person, but I really think to give the reality to the role, they ought to use a handicapped person. Hire an actor with a handicap. Gee whiz. So, study shows more disability stories on screen, but few disabled actors. This is New York Times. Yep, just what I was talking about. Oh, good. On July 26th, the New York Times has an article, Federal Disability Law Will Protect Long COVID Patients, Biden says. President Biden said the benefits and protections of the Americans with Disabilities Act would now extend to people facing ongoing health problems caused by a coronavirus infection that occurred weeks or months before. Now that is neat. And there's video with it, so I will put the link to the video down here. That is awesome. They really ought to have that, because I think we have it. Definitely our insomnia is a lot worse. I still have a skin condition along my collarbone, and sometimes I get sores on my trunk now since December when I had COVID. So definitely. Okay, this is New York Times. Okay, and there's the link. So y'all can take a look at that if you like. Excuse me, I'm going to drink some more water out of my American Red Cross thing. That's better. That's not as loud. And of course, I swallowed the wrong way, so there's that. Okay, so let's see what else we can find. I'm going to put this one on my Twitter. Yeah, I've reached my limit, so I can't read any more articles this month. Aw. And I'm putting another article on my Twitter that I can't read, but Erin Gilmer, disability rights activist, dies at 38. Let's see if there's something on my ooh, Virgin Galactic is restarting ticket sales beginning at $450,000. The more people that buy those $450,000 tickets, then the closer we are to the day when we'll be able to go in space for $450 maybe. Probably not in my lifetime, but it'll benefit somebody, maybe my daughter. A lot of people say well, you've got all these millionaires going in space. And why should you have millionaires going in space when we have all these social problems here on Earth? But don't forget how many things we have now because of NASA research that used to be things, Teflon was designed to protect the tiles on the space shuttle. So, Velcro, although it was come up with by somebody, but it became a NASA thing because they put it in spacesuits. So a lot of products that we use every day got their start because of space research or because of private industry trying to help the space service. So, these things do benefit mankind. So, there has been a lot of talk about putting a space station in orbit for disabled people, to make it easier for them, maybe to, if they've got weak hearts, without the forces of gravity pulling on them, then maybe space would be more pleasant for them. So, I think that it's important. Hello! Zara John XOX, hello! How are you? Have you got a question for me? I will try to answer all questions. Good to have you with me tonight to hang out. I'm doing pretty good. I'm, still sad about my sister being in the hospital, and my brother-in-law is in the dying process in the hospital. Both of them have COVID pneumonia. So I'm stressed out about that. But, physically I'm okay. Okay. I'm glad that you're here to share life experiences. Yeah, it's rough, but when people refuse to get the COVID vaccine, this is what happens. And I'm just hoping that the people that help take care of my sister will not get COVID and be in bad shape themselves. It worries me a lot because I can't be there. She's 3.5 hours away from me. So it's really tough when I can't be local and help her out. But she's so independent. She really doesn't want a lot of help. And it, oh, bless your heart. Yeah, it's so hard. My brother-in-law had terminal cancer before he got COVID. So, this is very, very bad. I feel for you. Just, I hope you've got folks you can talk to about your grief, because it's so important to be able to, just reminisce about your person and talk with them and, you know, um, good. I'm glad you have a good support network. So important. I have a good support network. I have my daughter, and she, we can talk, and we get along so well. So yeah, I've got her. So, and I've got a very good friend who's a CNA, and I have other friends. So yeah, I've got a good support network. So yeah, it's so important to have people around you, because when you have disabilities, it messes with your head. It really does. So it's so important to have that emotional support to help you get through it. And my daughter's been supportive of me since she was a kid. She wouldn't tell me what was wrong with her because she worried about me. And so definitely I've had to kind of encourage her to use good communication and talk about what's going on with her too, because I don't want her to just go on and neglect her mental health and her physical health because of me not wanting to worry me. And kids tend to do that. They're really not as clueless as we think they are. They really know a lot more than we give them credit for. So, yeah, I love children. I do love children. That's why I keep my channel family friendly. So if any parents with disabled children want to come on and bring their kids and join in the discussion, I want it to be family friendly. And hoping to get some young ones on here sometime. So, what would you like to talk about tonight? Is there any topic you would like me to talk about? And I can. Hey, I can adopt you, I'm 62, so I could be your mom or granny. Yeah, so, anyway, what do you want me to talk about tonight? Oh, thank you. I just love everybody, and we live in such a okay. Well, I'll just keep talking about stuff, and if you think of something that you want me to comment about, let me know, and I will try to do it. I think it's so important to talk about disabilities. I live in the United States, and here a fifth of us are disabled. Yet, all the hype and stuff about, oh, look at this disabled person, she or he did so and so, aren't they wonderful? And it's okay, but don't expect me to be like that. You know, oh, England. I had an ancestor in the 1600s who worked on Big Ben. So that's way cool. He was a Clyatt, Clyatt. So, yeah, I love ancestry. I work on my family history as I can. Now, the fact about my ancestor, I did not discover that fact. I found it out from another person who was researching my family. So, and it's kind of like, well, I haven't proven it yet, so it's kind of iffy, but I think it's awesome. He and his father were clockmakers. So, I think that's so neat. And this relative found a piece of paper that was his pass to get in the London Gate to be able to get to Big Ben and go up. So awesome, awesome. I have a lot of respect for England, and I would love to really go there someday, or at least visit virtually. So cool. Yeah, I have probably, I don't know if he was English, he may have been Irish, but I've got Irish, Scottish, and German that I absolutely know of, and maybe English, and maybe a lot of others as well, maybe some Dutch. So, real melting pot history. I don't know a whole lot about all branches of my family, but I know that there's one branch that came over from the Netherlands, and they were brothers, and they started up in, I believe, New York, and they quickly spread all over the country. Their kids went everywhere, and so my ancestor had ended up in Alabama. So my my great grandfather's family moved from Alabama to Georgia. So my grandfather was born in Fort Gaines, Georgia, and so I have a South Georgia connection. And then the other side of my mother's family came from North Carolina, and they were settlers in the Cape Fear area in the mid 1700s. So that's fascinating. You know, I could talk genealogy all day. I love it. Love it, love it. But it's really, really interesting. So we've got ancestors from a lot of different places. But I've lived in the United States all my life. I have not gotten to go out of the country except once. I got to go to Canada with a friend who was, her parents were Canadian, so that was really exciting to cross the border. So exciting. But I haven't gone anyplace in a long time. I'm pretty much in my four walls. I leave to go to the doctor or go pick up prescriptions. Everybody has black sheep in their family, and it really makes for interesting stories, you know. I've got one ancestor who was a lawman, and he was, they moved by covered wagon from Charleston, South Carolina to Tunica, Mississippi. And back in the early 1900s, Tunica, Mississippi was like the West. You know, it had still not been populated very much. And so it was a crazy place to live, I'm sure. My head is full of stories about my ancestors, and it's very, very interesting to get with people who are doing research on your family and hear the stories they have to tell. It's really awesome. So, back to disabilities. I am mobility disabled. I have a mental health condition, and I have ADD, and I have asthma, and several other medical conditions. So I have had disabilities since I was a kid. So I know what it's like to be in school and be different. And I don't look disabled. You would see me on the street, and unless you saw me with my walker or in my wheelchair, you wouldn't really notice anything unusual about me. I'm fat, but that's a disability too. But you know, when you're inactive, you tend to put on the weight. And so um, I have a lot of issue with the schools and how they handle disability. I've heard from so many parents talking about the problems with kids in school and the schools not really listening to the parents. So, yeah, anything that's a disability issue, I'm into it. Bless your heart. Yeah, I've got borderline personality disorder, so they can't really medicate you for it. it's kind of like manic depressive, but your emotions cycle like instantly. Manic depressives will go like 6 months of depression and 6 months of mania. I tend to get very upset over little things, and yeah, it's not easy, and it took me so many years to get diagnosed that I was diagnosed with all sorts of things, including schizophrenia. My sister still thinks I'm schizophrenic, and I'm not. But you get the wrong person, and they slap a diagnosis on you, and then and diagnoses can be diagnoses can be fleeting. But if you have something unusual like that, it can take them a while to root it out and figure out, well, what about it. But for BPD, the best thing you can do is cognitive behavioral therapy. I just went through 6 weeks of that on a program that was offered by my insurance company because of COVID. So it really helped me a lot. There were a lot of worksheets that I went through, and it was a journey of self-discovery, and it really helped me with some more coping skills in my toolbox. So definitely, I'm a fan of behavior, of cognitive behavior therapy. So it's good to get help for things. I believe that mental disabilities are just as severe as physical disabilities, and I come from that lens, having both. Oh, good for you. Let me know how it goes. I hope it helps you. A lot of people are just stigmatized, if they mention that they want to go see a mental health professional. And, well, I'm glad it helped you. I'm glad it helped you. I wish we had socialized medicine, because really, if you're going to get mental health care, usually you have to be rich to get it. I'm very fortunate to have Medicare and Medicaid, so I can see a therapist when I need one. But my daughter doesn't have health insurance at all. And so when she needs to go to the doctor, we just have to come up with the money, and it's very expensive. So I'm an advocate of getting socialized health care here. And we have all these Republicans. I don't know how familiar you are with our politics, but the Republicans say, oh, it costs too much to take care of everybody. We couldn't afford to have universal health care, and it's communist anyway. And it's like, excuse me? Did you learn in school that communism is not socialism? I mean, come on. Yeah, we have the highest prices for health care and mental health care in the world. And because it's all private industry, and everybody just keeps jacking up their prices. And people in the U.S. tend not to take mental health seriously. And I don't know how it is in the UK, but definitely it's hard. If you admit that you're going to see a therapist, people think, oh, they're crazy. Yes, there's so much backlash against people going and taking care of themselves. So, it's crazy. We really need to, well, I'm glad it's getting better there. It's getting more in people's awareness because of COVID, because people are speaking up that they never had mental health problems before COVID and all the isolation got to them. So I'm hoping that that will make it possible for us to get some, if we ever get universal health care, maybe we'll get universal mental health care too. A big problem we have in our schools here is school is run by the county. Most of our states have counties, so I guess it's like, do y'all have parishes, or do you have counties? Or I'm not good at specific geography. I know a little bit generally, but okay. So we have the county system for public schools. So each county decides what their curriculum is going to be, and, all this, and how much funding they're going to get. There is some federal funding that comes from the U.S. government, but most of it, by far, is county to county. So that means that certain parts of counties don't get as good of schools as more affluent regions. It's bad. It's really bad. So I'm watching the politics and hoping that we will get some bills through so that we get better health care. Yep, the postcode lottery. Over here it's zip codes, but yeah, it's a lottery. And if you live in certain zip codes, you're not going to get good schools, good health care, nothing. And your utilities might be just rotten. It's terrible. I have friends who live in a bad zip code, and bless their hearts, they don't know what's coming out of the tap, and it's awful. They just closed the only hospital in their counties, and that was serving 5 counties. So now they have to go like an hour away to the hospital. And how are they going to get there? Most of them don't have a car. There's no public transportation at all. So, and the way public transportation is in this country is if you have a bus that runs in a county, it can't cross the county line. It has to stop a half mile before it gets to the county line, unless there's some sort of inter-county agreement. They can have those, but I think it should be where you can get to the next county. I'm in the state with the most counties. Georgia has 159 counties. It's awful. It's awful. And I live near Chattanooga, Tennessee. So that's where all my health care is. That's where, and in Tennessee, they don't have much Medicaid. So I really have to be careful if I'm going across the state line to get like a dentist. I still don't have a dentist. Oh, it's Republican. It is red. My next door neighbor has the snake flag, the blue line flag, and the Trump flag, and I'm a Republican and a Democratic. I mean, a Democrat in a Republican county. It's terrible. It's terrible. You've heard of Marjorie Taylor Greene? She is my representative in the House of Representatives. I have written her many times and she ignores me. She sends me her newsletter. I have never before written to a congressman and not gotten a personal response. But this lady takes the cake. It's awful. I feel like I'm a voice in the wilderness and I'm not getting any representation. During the Revolutionary War, they used to say, no taxation without representation. Well, I feel like I'm not getting representation. Oh, I'm not talking revolution or anything like that, but I definitely think that, we need to Oh, thank you. Thank you. I am doing my best. I figure if I can, just I use my Twitter a lot and I try to retweet what's good and I try to spread information, not disinformation, if you know what I mean, because the Republicans tend to just spread all these lies. I don't blame my neighbors who are Republican because they're just sucked into it. But we really need stronger laws to control the stream of misinformation, especially about vaccines and COVID. My state has 33.8%, I think, is the figure. I need to look it up again, of vaccinated people. Me and my daughter, we are vaccinated. But there are so many people that won't get the vaccinations, like my sister and her husband. They were staunch Republicans and just didn't believe that the vaccine was safe and all this. And all these millions of people that have had it, that have had no long term effects reported, the vaccine is safe, all of them. And so, you know, I now my sister is putting on Facebook that everybody needs to get vaccinated. I am so happy. But I just wish that they had taken it earlier because it's just unnecessary for all these people to be sick and dying and getting disabled. It makes me very sad. So part of how I handle it is get on my live stream and say, go get vaccinated. Everybody, go get vaccinated. Because I don't want anybody to go through what my poor sister has gone through and what my poor brother-in-law is going through. Good for you. I got the Pfizer and my daughter got the Moderna, and we have gotten both of them. We got our last one back in May. So we have been vaccinated, and if they decide we need a booster, I'll go get that too. Now my sister, I finally, I kept telling her, we're vaccinated. We're not going to get really sick. So, and she keeps saying, go get a shot, go get a shot. And so I finally took a picture of my COVID vaccine card and sent it to her. Now she doesn't tell me go get a shot because she knows I'm fully vaccinated. Oh. So, what do you do? Well, I think that we disabled people are maybe a little better at handling these crises of life because we've had to handle so much of it. I went in the hospital last October during the pandemic with I had to have an emergency appendectomy. So what I saw in the waiting room was an experience, and I ended up, first of all, half the waiting room was Hispanics and Black people. So, in other words, people of color. And I noticed that I waited in that waiting room 5 hours before I was taken to a bed. It took them 3 hours to bring me a wheelchair, even though I told them on the form that I am disabled and I need a wheelchair. And by the way, when I called the hospital and said that I thought, when I was checking with them to see if they thought I needed to come in, they said, "Oh, don't bring your wheelchair." I'm like, what? You might as well ask me to leave my legs at home, you know? Um, Ridiculous. But this is a Tennessee hospital. And Tennessee is kind of backwards compared to Georgia. Sorry for anybody who sees this from Tennessee, but really, leave my wheelchair at home? You've got to be kidding me. So I had to walk in, and I'm very unsteady on my feet. I had to walk in. I couldn't take my daughter with me, so I had nobody to lean on. I barely made it to the counter, and this lady was talking on her phone, and she was pacing back and forth right in front of the nearest person at the counter. And so I just kind of waited for her, and she finally noticed me and moved. And by that time, I was feeling really woozy, and I got to the desk and I said, I think I'm going to faint. And so he said, go sit down. I'll come out there to you. And he did. He was wonderful. You know, they have wonderful staff at this hospital. I have used it before and I really like them a lot. So I'm not dissing the hospital, but it took them 3 hours to get me a wheelchair. They put me on an IV and I waited 2 more hours before they got me in a room. And when I was put in the room, they wheeled me past 5 people on gurneys. They were all people of color. And I was like shocked. It was a madhouse because they were having a surge. So I can't blame them for the long wait because this was right in the middle of a big surge of COVID-19 and they had a lot of people pouring into the hospital in the emergency room. But it broke my heart to see these people on gurneys that I had shared the waiting room with. You know, when I'm in a waiting room, I watch people. There was a Hispanic fella that had his arm all bandaged up, and there's a carpet mill near us called Shaw, and he had a Shaw shirt on, so that's probably how he got hurt. He didn't have to be admitted, though. They left before I got pulled back. But then there was a Hispanic lady, and her son was obviously mentally challenged, and he kept getting upset, and she kept calming him down, and people were staring at them, and I felt really bad for both of them because when you're disabled, you stick out like a sore thumb. And I felt so terrible for she probably felt like all of us were judging her because her son was speaking out, but his tummy hurt and he was hollering some, and I understood it, but I wasn't sitting near her, so I couldn't talk to her. I would have told her, don't worry about that, I'm sorry that you're going through this. But so he was on a gurney. There was a couple that I think she might have been Muslim. I don't know because she didn't have her mouth covered, but she had a shawl over her head. And she had a heavy accent, and her husband was with her. And, earlier in the waiting room, he had been kind of pacing, and then when I passed, he was on the gurney and she was holding his hand. And I thought, there's 2 of them. Couldn't they have put them in my room? I would have let them do that. Nobody asked me if I wanted to, I would have been on a gurney in the hall. I wouldn't have minded. So it just made me mad that, here's people that are out on gurneys that should be in rooms, that they, I don't think it was fair that they gave me a room and they didn't give them one. And I don't know what medical problems they had or what was going on, but about an hour after that, they got a room. And about an hour after that, I saw them wheel an empty gurney out of that room. It was the one on my left. And on my right, I could hear the Hispanic lady crying, and so I'm like, I'm in this room, what can I do? And so I sang Ave Maria, and she calmed down, and her son calmed down too. So I thought that, that was one thing I could do. It was kind of, I didn't know if the staff was going to fuss at me for singing. And of course, when the doctor started talking to him, I shut up. But I felt like at least that's one way I can help, But it was awfully upsetting because when they wheeled that gurney out, one of the nurses looks up, and they had been laughing and talking, like people do in a workplace. And they weren't loud enough to be disturbing me or anything. And they went silent. And she says, "Oh, no, not Poppy." And then I knew that he had died. And that was very upsetting to me that, they could have had another hour together before he died if they had given them the stupid room instead of me. And it just affected me that, I don't like to see people mistreated. And if he was in that bad of a shape that he was dying, why couldn't they have given them a room? Very upsetting, very upsetting. I hate unfairness. I hate injustice. I really, and I never thought a hospital could be that way. I haven't been in hospitals all that much in my life. Most of my stuff has been at home or at the doctor's office. But to see blatant racism in a hospital is just unfathomable to me. That's something that I don't want to see in my hospital. So, and then I had my surgery. They sent me home early because they didn't want me to catch COVID. And so I stayed home a couple of days, and then I had some complications and I had to go back in the hospital. Well, there are 2 hospitals in the system, and I went to the other hospital because they said, "Oh, it's not as crowded." And most everybody there was very nice, and they took good care of me, and so not the hospital's fault. But I had this care aide. I was talking with my nurse, who was a person of color, about Black Lives Matter. She walked in and her whole demeanor changed. She was like, "Arr." And I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to have to watch my back now. That nurse, she wasn't a nurse. She was a nurse assistant, you see. They have different colored scrubs for the different roles. The cobalt blue scrubs, that's a nurse. The red violet scrubs, that's a nurse assistant. This girl was about my age, maybe younger, gray hair and wrinkles, and looked older than me, even though I think she was much younger, but still, and I knew I was in for it. Well, she comes in. Now, because of the problems I was having, I came in adult pull-ups. She brings a stack of diapers. She says, "We don't have pull-ups, we have these." She puts them on the bedside table and leaves. It's like, good luck, Charlie. And I could not lift myself up. And these were not like baby diapers that have the little adhesive tabs that I had used on my children. No. This had strings. So I was like, how am I going to do anything about this? So my friend, the care aide, comes in and she sees the stack of diapers and said, "Oh, good, they're taking care of you." I said, "No." I need you to put one of these on me if you don't mind. She says, "Sure." So she put it on me. She had trouble figuring out the strings now. And so, thank goodness she put one on me because I really needed that. And, I told her about the nurse aide, and she told me, well, she's sitting on a couch with another nurse assistant watching TV. Ooh, I was mad. I was really mad. And she was telling me, "Oh, we're so busy. We're just so rushed." And she's sitting out there watching TV? Oh, I wrote a letter describing my entire hospital stay to the administration of the hospital. And of course, they won't tell you what they do about it. But I like to think that she lost her license because that is inexcusable. You are not supposed to let your political views interfere with your care of a patient. And that wasn't the only thing she did. There was a lot. There was a list. So, needless to say, and I would still go to that hospital because everybody else, my doctors were great, my nurses were great, the respiratory therapist was great, the physical therapist was great. I mean, the cleaning people who took care of my room were excellent. I did not have a single problem with a single other person except that one. And wouldn't you know that she was scheduled for every single day I was in the hospital, 12 hours. Now, the nurse assistant I had at night, he was wonderful, but that one person, that was chilling. I never, ever had to watch my back in a hospital setting before. But that shows how divided our country is right now because the Republicans are just, and the Democrats are like, we want to help people, So we Democrats are the ones who are willing to wear the masks, and we're willing to social distance, and all these. I'm not saying all Republicans are that way, but there are a good many vocal Republicans that are like, "Oh, it's like the Holocaust. We can't wear a mask. They can't make us wear a mask." And if you look at history, in 1919, when the Spanish flu was going around, it was very piecemeal like it is now. Some communities were like, we're going to mask up and we're going to, because back in those days, it was tuberculosis that was going around and people were very familiar with masks. And because of health concern, public health was in the forefront of the news, and every community had a hygiene society, and so people were very familiar with masks. They had to sew them themselves, and most people were very good at things like that because you had to sew your own clothes and things like that back then. So, affluent people could have things made for them, and there were beginning to be ready-made clothes in the stores. But most people, of low incomes were sewing their own. So people knew how to make a mask. People knew how to wear a mask. They were easily available. The materials were easily available. But yet there were some communities that people were just like, I'm not wearing a mask. You can't make me. And they would make laws against mask wearing. And then you'd have communities that would make laws that you had to wear a mask. So they didn't really understand in 1919 how diseases spread either. They were beginning to catch on to contagion, but you were still having, up until the 40s in the United States, you go in any cemetery that has older graves, and you see a lot of child graves. So, they didn't know as much as they did now. We didn't have the vaccines. We had the smallpox vaccine, but nothing else until the 40s and 50s. And really, it was the 60s before vaccinations were pretty common. My mother was an ER nurse, and so I was the first kid on my block in the 60s to get vaccinated and to get the polio vaccine, which was putting a lot of my sister's peers in iron lungs. And you saw a lot of kids with braces on their legs from polio. So, it was still common to see people in leg braces in the 60s. I'm so grateful for the medical advances that we have and the vaccines that we have. And I just wish that people would look at how bad things were before we got vaccines commonly. We need more medical care. Whoops. I've dropped my wire and my computer is about to go off. Let me find that wire again. Where is it? Well, that one is not it. Oh, where is my wire? My wire is gone. That's a hard drive wire. That's not the power wire. Tess, would you help me a minute? I have lost my power wire to my computer.
Lost your power wire?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but it's not here now. Getting the low battery alarm on my computer.
How'd you lose?
I think I've got my cat behind the computer. She must have knocked it and it...
That's Lila.
Oh, it's Lila?
Hi, Lila. She must have pulled it looser.
The sisters look a lot alike. I didn't see her tail.
Especially in the dark.
Yeah.
Their butts look alike.
Yeah, I've got this lighting set up because my top light in the bedroom gives me a yellow tinge. I don't want to look jaundiced.
Oh, there it is.
Thank you.
Lila,
all right.
Why did you do that? Hi, baby. I love you.
I need to figure out some way to clip
One
that.
of our neighbors had to call an ambulance over
Oh
there.
my! I was wondering what that siren was.
Yeah.
Over where?
Over on that side. There's
The blue trailer.
The road over there, not the blue trailer, on the street over there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you see which house it was?
Halfway up the street, almost directly across from us.
Oh wow.
I don't know. One of the trailers over there. I have no idea which side of the street.
Wow.
But yeah, I saw
Bless their hearts.
I looked out and I saw the ambulance and the fire truck. Fire truck guys pulled out a minute ago. And
wow.
They're still getting the person loaded up in the ambulance, I think.
Aww.
Poor guys, they're gonna have a rough night.
Yeah, they are. I feel for them. There's a lot of COVID in our area right now.
Yeah, I just pray they don't have COVID pneumonia, because that's gonna cause them a
Okay.
lot.
See you when you get back.
Oh.
He's going for a cigarette. Naughty, naughty.
Well, hey, if you want to smoke cigarettes, man, smoke a cigarette. Lila.
So, I'm worried about my neighbor. We live in a trailer park, and we have a lot of elderly and handicapped folks in our trailer park. Was a mobile home park. They used to call them trailers down south a long time ago.
Yeah, but it wasn't one of our immediate neighbors, like the ones directly over there. It was one of the ones across the street, I think.
Like that house with the porch?
Yeah, maybe a couple houses
Oh,
up
wow.
from, maybe a couple houses to their right.
Oh.
I don't know. It was just there.
Wow.
Oh, there goes the ambulance. It's pulling out.
Wow. I feel for them.
Yeah.
We'll need to remember them in our prayers tonight.
Yeah. Poor family.
Definitely.
COVID is just, this new Delta variant is just...
It's awful. It is really bad that so many people are getting very sick.
I hope they're able to come home from the hospital quickly.
Yeah.
Or that it's quick if they do end up dying.
Yeah.
Because being stuck on a ventilator.
Oh, like Jim. That's awful.
Yeah.
That's awful. Well, for all their talk about it, he didn't refuse one. I don't think. Well, yeah. I mean, he didn't. Okay. Well, let me go find another topic. I'm going to look through my Twitter and see. Ooh, neat. Jupiter. That's so cool. I love space, so I have a lot of space stuff on my Twitter. Okay. Oh, it's Neil Armstrong's birthday. Cool. Cool. President Biden will sign an executive order today setting a national goal for electric and zero emissions vehicle to make up 50% of new cars and trucks sold by 2030. That's a good step in the right direction. Cool. Let's see. Physics photo of the day, Marie Curie. CDC Director Dr. Walensky. Here's what I can tell American parents. The best way to protect your children who can't get vaccinated yet from Delta is to get vaccinated yourself. Good advice. I like her. That's from MSNBC. One thing I love about Twitter is that you can read the articles. Looking through. Ooh, the extremely rare glass octopus. I'm going to retweet that. Looking through my Twitter. Let's see. Oh boy. Yeah, Peter Hotez has a chilling post about all the anti-science stuff which is affecting all us disabled people. And we need more family leave for men and women to be home with a new baby. So many things we need to be more parent friendly in this country. The New Jersey governor is smart. He's announcing a mask mandate for students. Oh, that's pretty. Oh. Let's see. Oh. Emu Kanapali is talking about Kenya's first national wildlife census. That is wonderful. Let's see. Oh, President Biden has been driving an electric Jeep Wrangler around the south lawn of the White House. Oh, that's cool. That is cool. I like electric cars. I used to have an electric golf cart, and I would go and, oh, welcome back. I was looking on my Twitter, and there was a post about President Biden driving an electric Jeep all over the White House. And I thought, wow, it's really an experience driving an electric vehicle. I had an electric golf cart, and I would use it to go get groceries. My joy was short-lived because the city of Cuthbert, Georgia did not like golf carts. So they stopped me and they said, "Oh, you've got to add lights to that thing." Well, I called a mechanic and I had him try to add extra lights and a horn. And the battery system would not handle the extra lights. So I had to sell the golf cart because the police wouldn't let me drive it. It's city by city, county by county, and if they ban golf carts, then elderly people like me can't substitute having a golf cart for a car, which is crazy. There ought to be a law, right? Oh, goodness. Okay, let me have another look at Twitter and see what else is there. It worries me about all this voting rights stuff. Okay, astronauts. Oh, Simone Biles, she is so cool. Our Olympic bronze medal winner in gymnastics. No, Simone Manuel. She's the one that's a swimmer. Cool. But let's talk about Simone Biles a minute. She was getting so much persecution and had so much pressure on her that she stopped participating in the Olympics for a few races until she could just get her head right. And this is a big problem because anybody black right now is getting all of this white supremacist backlash, and I think that probably had a lot to do with it. Olympic gymnasts have so much pressure anyway, and it's hard to have abilities that normal people don't have. It is really a lot of people who are on the top tier of the athletic world end up with injuries that later in life might disable them. So, definitely, I have a soft spot in my heart for injured athletes, and certainly the mental health is a very important issue as well. I really feel for her, and I'm glad she was able to participate and get a bronze medal. But at the same time, it worries me that she was getting this inordinate amount of pressure that her teammates apparently weren't getting as bad. And we need more protections for our citizens. We really do. So that they can feel like they can drop out a while for a mental health break if they need it. I don't feel any frustration with her or anger at her for dropping out for a bit. I am happy that she knew she needed that break and took it. And I'm also glad that she was able to come back. But when you're having problems like that, you really need to be able to lead your own way and not have people telling you, oh, you can't do this, you're letting the team down, because you've got to take care of yourself before you can take care of your team, right? So I think that she set a good example for other athletes. And maybe it will be a little bit easier for someone else to do that when the pressure is on that bad. Without, she's probably getting a lot of backlash for it too. But I definitely think that she should be able to take a break if she wants to. I've had so many people tell me, oh, you ought to do this for your, you should be exercising more, or you should do these exercises and stuff like that, or you should take this herb, or you should do, it's my body, darn it. I want to do what I feel is best for my body, and I want to have control over my body. And I don't want anybody telling me, well, you're handicapped, so you need this much space, or you need to do this exercise because I do it and it's great for me. Well, whoopee for you. I mean, anybody should have the right over their body to say, this, I will do this. This is too much. I will not do this. Even if doctors are saying, you gotta do this, ultimately it's up to the person to decide what pain level they can stand, what things they want, and basically, your body is your own. You need to decide for yourself what's right. I may swear by eccentrics. I talk about eccentrics to a lot of people. I love it. But I'm not going to chastise somebody that I recommend eccentrics to and say, well, you're just being stubborn. If you tried eccentrics, it would work for you. It's like, no. I can suggest things, and I'm okay with people not doing what I suggest because your body is your own. Your choices are your own. I can suggest something that I've seen or read or done or experienced, and that's fine. But even for anti-vaxxers, I don't think that the government should force them to take a vaccine. I am hoping that they will decide eventually when they lose enough relatives to take the vaccine, but I'm not going to fuss at somebody, that's saying, well, I don't believe in vaccines and I don't think we should be doing them. You know, you can decide that for yourself. Maybe you can decide that for your kids, but you're not going to decide it for me. I don't want anybody taking my right to decide away from me, so I'm not going to take anybody else's right to decide. But I will try on my channel to supply good information so that people can make their own informed choice. That I can do, and I can feel comfortable with doing. So, Anyway, let me look on Twitter and see what else I can find on there. Let's see. Ooh, this is exciting. Wow. Dr. A is saying, brain-computer interface read a person's brain waves and produced language. A man who lost the ability to speak due to brainstem stroke communicated just by thinking about what he would say if he could speak. There were enough words to generate 1,000 sentences, and they can be displayed on a computer screen. And it has a map of the brain with Broca's area, which is on the left side of your head, and that's where your speech is located. Then there's Wernicke's area on the in the back there. That's kind of it's towards the back more. It's beside the ear, and that is where your word recognition comes from. And then meanings of words are in the bottom part of the brain, so near the brain stem. So this is really cool. This is really cool. I'm going to retweet it. So now it's on my feed if you want to look at it. That is cool. I want to know more about that. I'm going to, let's see, how would I look that up? All right, let me find it again because I just lost it. Let's see. Okay. Well, I just retweeted it. It would be in my feed. So let me find it in my feed. Let me find it in my feed. I'm not wearing tweed. I will find it in my feed. Okay, let's see. All right, now I can't find it. Let's see. Computer generated speech. Brainstem stroke. I want to see what source this doctor was. Oh, it's in The Guardian. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Washington Post. All right. Scientific American. That's better. All right. I will quote the Scientific American. Wow. This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. Wow. Okay, the first person ever to produce whole words via a computer intermediate that decodes his brain's messages. A processor connected to an array of electrodes implanted in his brain receives the messages and translates them into words displayed on a screen. For the first time since his stroke. Wow. And with a suite of at least 50 words, he can transmit up to 1,000 complete sentences. This is wonderful. Cool. Wow. It's called the Bravo Study, BCI Restoration of Arm and Voice. And it has 128 electrodes. Wow. So the man goes by the pseudonym Bravo 1. I've heard about him. Okay. Decoded his messages correctly 74.5% of the time. That's really good. Median rate of about 15.2 words a minute. But if they can do this, they can refine it and make it better. So this is wonderful. This is wonderful. All right. I'm gonna put this in my feed. Okay. This is great. So they'll go on to improve that and put them in other people. That is awesome, because it's got to be so discouraging to a person to not be able to speak. I knew a lady when I was in the nursing home years ago, and she had had a stroke, and her right side was paralyzed, and she couldn't talk. And she would get so frustrated, and they tried to teach her sign language and she just couldn't learn it. So she was extremely frustrated. Her husband would come and play the left hand part of the piano, and she would, let's see, have I got this right? She would do the left hand and he would do the right hand. And they would play the piano beautifully together. It was really neat to hear, and everybody enjoyed it. But I felt so bad for her that she wanted to talk so much. And she would move her mouth but couldn't make any sounds. And she would sometimes you could just see the frustration on her face. I would give her responses and wait for her to say to do yes, or no. She could do that. And a lot of times I totally misread what she was trying to say, and the poor thing just, I would keep trying this and keep trying that, and she'd just get more frustrated. And sometimes she would just, use her good hand to wheel away from me because she'd get so frustrated, and you know, I just tried to understand it and left her alone when she would get upset, because getting upset is part of the stroke picture too. So, I didn't want to upset her, but bless her heart, she had such a rough time. I was so grateful that I was able to talk and take myself to the bathroom. Very grateful for that. Um, it's it's hard for people who have strokes and other brain injuries when you can't talk. That's just so hard. So it's wonderful that they finally got one of those implants working. So now they can refine it and it can help people better. Wonderful technology. I do love the way that we are learning new things and being able to help people, because it's good to have somebody to try to interpret your signals, but it's even better when you can have a machine do it and the machine doesn't get tired and the machine doesn't get frustrated with you, and the machine, can do the repetitive stuff until you get it right. So it's wonderful. It would be a boon to caregivers to be able to communicate with their loved one without much effort. Really nice. So I'm encouraged to see all the technological advances that we are having. It's wonderful. So the scientist Chang, that is the leader of the group of scientists, the next steps to see if this is better, worse, or the same in more people. And the researchers will use a larger vocabulary to train the machine that decodes the brain's output. And the vocabulary is already expanded beyond the 50 words, so it's really neat. And, it might be that it just needs to have more training to work even better. Let's see what else I see here. Some of these are in foreign languages. I'm only fluent in English. I know a little German, but I'm not good at reading other languages. Let's see. Okay. That's cool. Let's see. Oh, the HuffPost is going to note places that require workers to be vaccinated and require people entering to be vaccinated. Oh, Yelp is doing it. Well, interesting. Let's see. Oh my. Tennessee's health commissioner says all the children's hospitals will be full by the end of next week. The House Speaker, meanwhile, plans to take legislative action against schools with mask mandates or going virtual. This is absolutely stupid. Why are they against wearing masks in school? It's not hurting kids to wear a mask, for Pete's sakes. I can see if they wanted them to do something that was risky, but wearing a mask is not risky. And to protect all the disabled kids in there, they need to be wearing masks. This is just, madness. I agree with Sherilyn I feel. I'm gonna retweet this. Oh. But Tennessee just fired the head of their health department, their state health department. And she was just doing her job, saying that, she was quoting from the law in Tennessee that a 16-year-old and, let's see, age range 13 to 16, 13 to 18. Kids 13 to 18 could come in unaccompanied by their parents and get a vaccine. And she sent out, or tried to send out, a letter confirming that after checking with Tennessee's legal department. They promptly fired her. So now, if the parents are against vaccination, the kids have no choice. And that's limiting their rights. I think that there should be certain human rights that children have. And if a child wants the vaccine and it can save their life, then why shouldn't they have that treatment? I don't understand a lot of the insaneness that is gripping my country. I do not understand it. Oh. And I wish that our federal government would act to protect our voting rights, because a lot of these crazy Republicans, like in my state of Georgia, there's a new restrictive law limiting our right to vote. It's crazy. It should, we're guaranteed the right of happiness in our Constitution, and health leads to happiness. If there's a proven treatment, we should be able to get it. And the voting rights, all these restrictions discriminate against us handicapped people. Let's see. Let's see here. I'm retweeting a bunch of stuff that's off the subject, but I'm trying to find something about disabilities. Well, okay. Da, 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 da. Well, you know what? It is getting late. So here at my house, it's 10:20 in the evening. So I've gone on a little longer than I usually do, but I've enjoyed being with y'all, and I hope that you'll join me tomorrow night if you have time or, whenever. And I'll be talking about disability issues and looking at the news feed on my Twitter and other sources to have some new stuff to talk about. And I'll be adding experiences from real life. So I'm going to leave you with a handicap thought. Let's see. So, what am I going to say for my handicap thought? Hope is a powerful thing. If you're disabled or you know somebody disabled and you have concern for them, hope is a powerful force for healing and for good. And it has many meanings to many different people. If you say to somebody, I hope you feel better soon, sometimes that can kind of make me feel, well, I'm not going to feel better soon because I have fibromyalgia, I'm in constant pain all the time, I'm tired all the time, I don't feel good a lot. So it's nice that people say to me, I hope you feel better soon, but maybe it might be better to leave off the soon because it's not like it's like the flu and it's just going to be a week and I'm going to feel better. But hope, on the other hand, as believing that life can be good, believing that you have a future even though you have X disabilities, believing that medical advances are coming faster and faster, and that someday there may be cures for some of our conditions, or there might be robotic aids or cybernetics or things like that in our future that could help us with these problems. It's good to have hope. You just don't want to misuse hope. In other words, if you've got fibromyalgia, you've got constant pain, but there is no physical disorder. It's not an illness, so to speak, because it's your nerves in your body giving false pain signals. So you get these false pain signals. There is not a way that we know of right now to stop those false pain signals while letting true pain signals come through, because pain is a warning, right? If you have a pain, you might go see the doctor and there might really be something wrong. Most of the time it's not. But, you still want to have hope that someday medical science might have an answer. But on the other hand, you don't want to follow every snake oil vendor to, and I've been guilty of some of that in my life. My idea is, if there's an herb and it doesn't have many side effects and maybe it will help me, and I've talked to my doctor about it and okayed it with him or her, that's a different matter. If I have a really, really bad pain day, for example, I have some kratom around the house, and I talked to my doctor about this, and she said it was a good, harmless treatment. So I find that when I have really, really high pain days, I can take some of that. It doesn't make me sleepy, and it makes me more functional. So that's a good thing. But one time I had a friend who gave me some capsules of herbs, and she said, "This herb mixture does wonders for me. You should try it." I tried it. I got violently ill for 2 days. It was horrible. So just because it works well with your bodily system doesn't mean it's going to work well with my bodily system. And when I was in a fibromyalgia group, we used to trade stories about different remedies that we had tried to see if this treatment would work or that one. And people had mixed results. There were some people that had great results with this treatment, and others tried it and it didn't do a thing for me. So, it's good to have hope, and it's good to do a little bit of this trying things to see if they help you, if there's a good chance that they're not going to hurt you. But you should always be talking to your doctor about this stuff, because alternative medicine can have some good treatments, but on the other hand, the risk of it not being a good thing for your particular body chemistry is always a risk. So if it's something like hot and cold compresses or capsaicin cream or something like that, that's an over-the-counter thing that may or may not work for you, it's not going to do any harm, so it's okay. But you want to be careful of people who prey on us with all these promises that turn out to be nothing. And there's too much of that going on. Scams are at an all-time high. So, talking about hope, the kind of hope that I feel is good for everybody is the hope that medical science does march on and it gets better. I'm trying to adjust this. There we go. The hope that there will be better treatments for things, the hope that eventually there will be enough research and there will be enough devices and there will be, maybe robots with intelligence to help you in your daily life and things like that. That's good hope. That's real good hope. But as far as trying every little odd thing to see if it helps you, that gets exhausting fast. And as a handicapped person with the condition that there's, fibromyalgia, there's really, they can give you pain meds, but most of the pain meds that I've been on had horrible side effects, and I finally said, nope, not taking it anymore. So, it's up to the individual person whether they have the stamina to try things again and again and again. So I tend not to bombard myself with internet searches for new remedies and things like this because it just was bad for my mental health. So every once in a while I hear about something, like I heard about kratom and I researched it and I decided to try it and had very good results. So I'm not saying that it's impossible to find something that helps you in the realm of alternative medicine, but hope that is helpful hope is like, just hang on a little longer. There might be a medical breakthrough, and it might be something really, really life-changing for somebody. So having that hope and hoping that you can keep a good attitude, and that, having hope for the future is huge. You need to have hope for the future. You need to cling to it and just say, I'm going to hang on, and I'm going to have hope that my quality of life will get better. But in the meantime, I'm not going to put off my happiness because of my hope. Because hope and happiness is a partnership. It's like that. So you want to have hope and happiness together. Because you don't want to be waiting to be happy until you try this new treatment and see if it's going to help you. You don't want to hang your happiness on your hopes that a new treatment will work. You want to maintain the happiness all along while you're waiting and while you are hoping. So my advice about hope is don't let hope lead you into this vicious cycle where you're just desperately searching for every new thing, because that's just a ticket to crazy land. It really is. Don't put off your happiness. Have hope, but have happiness now. Don't put off happiness until you are, quote, better. Because even if you don't get, quote, better, and, I'm 62 years old, I am in that side of my life where I just accumulate more medical problems and more problems in general. But I'm not putting off my happiness. I'm not going to say that I have no future and lose all that hope, because hope keeps you going. So my advice about hope is just to never separate the hope from the happiness. There is happiness. You can get happiness now just looking at a pretty picture. Go on a website that interests you. If you can't go to a place that you want to see, there are webcams, there are museum tours, there are tours, period, on the internet. So, you can kind of live some of your dreams through maybe a video game where you can hop and jump around if you can't do those things, or through a virtual experience like Second Life. I've been on Second Life, and I love being able to explore these mock-ups of cities they've got. I've been in the Munich, Germany one, and the Frankfurt one, and they're awesome. So there are ways, and in Forza Horizon 4, I love to just drive around through the countryside and just see, because right now it's in Britain, so and in southern Scotland. So I can drive up to Glasgow and not Glasgow. I'm drawing a blank here. Edinburgh. I can go up to Edinburgh and drive around. And I can drive around through several small English towns, and I can go on the beach, and it's really awesome. So I can have experiences like that without having to be able to afford to go someplace like that. So hope and happiness go hand in hand. Don't separate them. Keep your hope warm. Keep your happiness going, and you'll feel better no matter what your disability is. So with that note, and if you're feeling down, I hope you've got somebody that you can talk to, because that's so important to get stuff off your chest and be able to just talk to someone close to you and tell them how you're feeling. And everybody gets down sometimes. That doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It just means that you need to find ways to perk yourself up when you get blue. And if you can't, you need to talk to your doctor about a therapist. And, I talked a lot about that the other day, about don't be afraid of a therapist, because they're not going to force you to do anything. You have a lot of choices in therapy. And a lot of people are scared of that if they've never been in therapy. Those of us who have been in therapy and had good experiences know what it's like, and we're not afraid of it. It may be difficult to get back in therapy if you've been away for a while. But the main thing is just to hold on to that happiness. And it can be small things like watching a sunrise if you happen to be up at that hour, or watching a sunset, or watching a rainy day, or petting your pet. Well, in Britain, you say stroking your pet. I've got 2 cats and a dog, and they are great company for me. And so when my daughter is in another room playing video games, I've got the kitties with me, and I'm pretty good at keeping myself busy. When I need her, she comes. But that way we are able to, she's able to take care of me without getting burned out, and I have other things I can occupy my time with. So there's always good things that you can reach for, no matter what your disability. So I hope y'all will take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you again. And thank you for visiting with me tonight. And if you are of a praying mind, please pray for my sister and brother-in-law. And if you aren't religious, just send some good vibes their way if you would. I would appreciate it, and our family would appreciate it. Y'all take care, and I'm going to end my live stream, and I'll see y'all tomorrow night. Take care. Love y'all. Mwah. Bye-bye. And